Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Xa Talk Show. Today we are going to code Emacs Lisp. Emacs Lisp, fantastic. So this is my keyboard expose. I'm on this keyboard today, okay? Search my website, XRD keyboard, you'll find it, okay? My reviews and stuff. And today we are going to code Emacs Lisp. Emacs Lisp. So this is today's topic. So let's see. We are going to code a URL parser. Emacs Lisp parsing URL, which is quite interesting and not trivial. Okay. In fact, I already wrote it. I'm gonna explain that the built-in URL parser sucks. Okay, and I'm gonna explain my new code. I already wrote it. So, Emacs Lisp. Okay. Writing a URL parser. Okay, let's begin. Okay, my keyboard and my video check, audio check. Yeah, good. Okay, let's go. So URL parser. Okay, so let's do it. So let me tell you that built-in by default there is a URL parser. This is this one. Okay, describe function URL generic parse URL. That's the function name. And it's in this file, url parse.el. Okay, so you can open the source code. You can see it's here, and you can diet jump to jump into the directory. I'm using a Vorak keyboard layout, and I'm using Xarf-like keys. And on the left, you can see all my commands and the keystrokes I type. Okay, so if you are not sure, for example, what is this Xar next window or frame, that's a function name. I just press that W. It just let me. If I have separate panes, it let me jump. If I have two panes, it'll switch the cursor among the panes. If I only have one pane, it'll just jump through different windows. Okay. So anyway, so that's a pink window that shows all my command calls and keystrokes. Vorak layout. Okay. So there is a built-in function. Now let me show you a trick. So how do you know if you are writing a HTML parser, whatever, in Emacs, you want to know if there is a URL parsing function. Now in Emacs Lisp, there is no namespace. There is no, mechanism that associate libraries with a namespace. So there's no namespace. So it's kind of a mess. So how do you find it? Basically, you go to the Lisp directory. So call describe function, and type any Emacs command. For example, forward word. Okay, that's a very typical command. So describe function that then you can see, okay, it's in C source code. Now that's not the one you want. Now if I press enter, because I didn't build my Emacs, I didn't compile it, so there's no source code. But you can download the Emacs source code, then add a link in your init, then you can jump to the C source code. Anyway, so let's call another command. Typically I call describe function diet or the add. Okay, so that shows the documentation for the function diet, which is the diet mod is lets you see the directory and copy file, delete file, rename file, things like that. So diet, and press enter to jump to the source code. So you can see here is the diet source code, for 5,000 lines. Then call diet jump, this command, so let's call it. It'll drop you to diet where that current file is at. So you can see, so then you go to the top, all the way to the top, you can see that's how you arrive at the Emacs Lisp source code. That's a bundle, so go up directory in diet, it's the correct, the correct key. So you can see here's the old Lisp directory. So you go there, then if you need to find some existing, if you want to know is there's already a function doing URL parsing or HTML parsing or any other thing, this is the general way to find it. So for example, in this directory, I can open anyone. Then you just search for example, let's say search for the word parse. Okay, So in this directory, search it, and all files ending in .el, that means Emacs Lisp files, search it. Okay, so there are 1,000 or 2,000 files. So did I already started search? Yes. So you have to wait for a while because it's actually loading the disk. Disk is usually the bottleneck for file search. So I'm right now using my own package Xafine text to search it, but there are many ways you can use grep, so and so on. So here is the so you can see here is all the occurrences of those files contains the word parse, and this one is in this file, in this Emacs calc, and there are so many. You can see the score box. There's tons of files with containing the word parse. So anyway, so that's a general way to find if a function is available in a library. Kind of tedious, but that's basically the only way, okay? Because Emacs doesn't have a namespace system and there's no comprehensive documentation of all the libraries, okay? So anyway, and I know, for example, there is U browser, okay? So let's go to Emacs. So for example, you can, how do you know? So you go to the browser, you go to xali.info, okay? So you are here and click on Xali search and EWW, okay? So you can say Emacs browser. So Emacs web browser, there's a U web browser, which is a web browser written entirely in Emacs Lisp, okay, entirely. And so we can try it now. So for example, metax EWW, okay, enter, and it asks you a URL. So let's say google.com. Let's see how Google looks. There it is. So you can type forward, cancel. Where is my cursor? Okay, so here, Xali, Emacs. Okay, so search Google, then you have the tab, XAR Emacs is tutorial. Let's go there. So you are looking at U browser, EWW, U. that's the naming of the thing, written by this great Emacs Lisp expert. Okay, so I have a tutorial on that. So U browser is sometimes useful, but anyway, so you are looking at my website via the Emacs built-in U browser written in Emacs Lisp. So anyway, why am I mentioning this? Because I know that there is this, U written in Emacs Lisp. So with the U browser, it must need to do parsing URL often. So I'm guessing, so if I can look at the source code for U browser, I might find, some function that parses URL. So that's another way. That's how I, for example, close this. So let's do metax. Actually, let's do Control H describe function. Okay. Describe function, type EWW and enter. So then here is the EWW documentation. Tab, jump to the source code, so you can look at the source code. And diet jump to go to the directory, so you can see here is the EWW and go all the way up. You can see in this directory it's everything about networking. So this is how, so you can now try to search for a parse URL name, So anyway, that's how you find it. Okay, so for example, let's do XAR search. Okay, you can use grep, but I use my own command, XAR find text. Okay, so search for parse -URL, for example. Okay, searching in this directory, yes. File path regular expression .el. Okay, so there it is. Now there are like 20 results. So you can see, so we have found actually the function we are looking for. URL generic parse URL. So you can, pick any one of them and go to it. And you see, so this one is used by Tramp. Tramp is the library that allows you to kind of load files from a remote server. So Tramp. So anyway, so you can see it needs to parse URL. So now you can just describe function and type URL generic parse URL. That's a default. Enter. There it is. So describe function is fantastically useful. Okay, it allows you to show the documentation of a function and jump to the source code. Okay, there's a question. Oh, do you put away your glove? I knew that question is coming up because you dramatic people. Like you want to know, which keyboard are you currently using? Oh, you are not using X glove. Does that mean you don't use it anymore? No, I use it. I want to, I'm not using it now because I'm waiting for them to send me a new one with a lighter switch because I have RSI for 15 years. So for today, I don't want, I'm not going to I have to stick to one keyboard. And next time when you watch my video, I'm using a different one. Oh, Xa, did you change your keyboard? What happened? That's no good, okay? That's the phenomenon of, you look at the celebrities, what t-shirt they wear. Like, what do they say? Oh, Rust, what the latest programming language? I don't do that, okay? Glove 80 is a fantastic keyboard, one of the best that will be my permanent, but I'm waiting for the new switch. But Expose is also fantastic, okay? Which one is for you? That depends on lots of issues. There's no one single best keyboard. However, there are differences between qualities of which keyboard are kind of better than a different, lots of others. So Expose and Glove 80, and I would also say Kinesis Advantage and the new one Kinesis 360. They are all superb. I recommend. They differ by price, they differ by form factor, they differ by. So it depends on you which one is best for you. But anyway, so back to Emacs Lisp. Okay. Yeah, I'm a celebrity. Xa, what's your gig? What's your computer spec? What CPU, what GPU do you use? What's your favorite color? Okay, so back to Emacs Lisp. Okay, focus guys, focus on Emacs Lisp. Today we're talking about Emacs Lisp. Okay, two people, the poverty of my show. I suppose if I'm gonna do what are the ways to become popular? Let's just talk about drama every day. If I do that, my viewership probably will increase, but that's no good. That's shit. That's all the YouTubers are doing. So back to Emacs Lisp. So now I'm going to rant on the built-in. So URL generic parse URL. This is an old written like 20 years ago or something, very old. Okay, so you can see the documentation. You open that. So here is the source code. So you jump again to go to the directory. So this file is url-parse. So you can see this whole directory is basically related to URL cookie. The whole directory is related to URL. But now if you look at this URL parse, go to the top, you can see it's written in 1996. Very old, 25 years old. Very old, okay? So, but it sucks. Why it sucks? Let me explain, okay? So you see, I need a function to parse URL. Why do I need it? Let me explain, okay? What's the deal? Why do you need to parse URL? Okay, so let's go to CSS, okay, show in browser. Visual CSS tutorial. So this is my Visual CSS tutorial. I recommend you go check it out. Okay, Visual CSS, okay. And we want to know, currently, we want to know URL. Okay, so let's go to DOM. You want to know all the things about URL. For example, in JavaScript, you have a object, you have a DOM interface, interface. You have basically a function that parses URL. But why do you need to parse it? Okay, let me show you. So here is how to open an URL. Given a URL, you can open it in a browser. How do you do that in JavaScript? Okay, so go down, and here is how to get cookies. Check if cookies are enabled. Web storage, get URL. So there it is, get URL. So you see, URL has many parts. There's here is a URL. For example, this is a local URL. So URL has many parts. Okay, so hold on a second. Let me magnify the font. So Alt T S, or keyboard functionality. Okay, so now go here. Zoom size, let's say 110. Okay, that's a bit better. Okay, so back to URL. So today's topic is URL supreme. So URL, so you have the, okay, so let me just directly show you. Okay, recently I did an update on this. Okay, so there it is, different parts of the URL syntax and name of parts. You have the protocol part, you have the path. Wait. Okay, I'm missing something. This is the domain. So protocol, domain, port number. You have the path, resource path. You have the query string. You have the hash fragment that allows you to jump to a specific point in a page. So technical details. This is URL. Okay, so you need to pass URL because for example, I'm writing a command, I need it anyway. Okay, that's a silly question. You need to pass URL. But let's go back, look at this URL generic pass URL. Okay, so blah, blah, blah. So return an URL struct of the parts of URL. Okay, it returns a URL struct. What the fuck is URL struct? The CL style struct contains the following fields. Okay, type, user, password, host, port, spec, file name, target, attributes, fullness. those field names look silly. That's nothing like today's. By JavaScript, you have protocol, host, port number, resource path, query string, URL fragment. Okay, but however, according to this Emacs Lisp function, you have this type. What the fuck is type? User, password. It's Asian. That's the point. Okay, now you can see, and you can see the parse. It says here, the parser follows RFC 3986, except that it is also tries to handle URIs that are not fully specified, blah blah blah, lacking type, and it does not check for something. Okay, something esoteric and basically outdated. This, So first of all, you have these confusing fields. But okay, so let's say I want to adopt it, but it returns a URL struct. What the fuck is a struct? In Emacs Lisp, there is no such built-in data type called struct. Okay, and then it says the CL style. CL stands for Common Lisp. The Common Lisp, that's the single most element that made Lisp so bad. Okay, that did huge damage to Lisp. The CL style struct contains the following. So what is a struct? You cannot find it anywhere. This is when you need to go look up the Common Lisp hyper spec. Okay, so let's see, Common Lisp struct. What the fuck is okay, the introduction to structures. Okay, Common Lisp. So structures, CL. So hyperspec. Okay, it's it's going nowhere. I want the specification. Okay, so let's type common Lisp hyperspect struct. Maybe it'll give you a better hyperspect lookup. Nah. Okay, so anyway, so that's my point. Emacs Lisp does not have the struct data structure, but this library is using the common Lisp structure, and so it's no good. Okay, and it's also kind of outdated. So that's my pain. That's my complaint. I want to use it. It's always better to use anything that's built in. So I want to use it, but I don't know what is a struct. And then it's common Lisp. It's from common Lisp. Why is it from common Lisp? Because back then, you see, this is 1996. Back then, common Lisp and scheme Lisp is the primary Lisps, and there's there's a language war. There's two factions. Throughout the past 30 years, there's tremendous effort trying to upgrade Emacs Lisp, to migrate Emacs Lisp into one of the common Lisp or scheme Lisp. So there are two big factions, warring factions. To this day, there's no agreement. Okay, and I despise common Lisp. Common Lisp is everything that's wrong with Lisp. Okay, the fuck common Lispers. Anyway, so yeah, okay, I like to use it, but no documentation, and what the fuck, and then what the fuck is the URL struct, and it's a foreign structure from common Lisp. I don't want to use it, okay, and it's old. So because of all these reasons, I don't, I decided it's easier for me to write my own. Okay, so that's what I did. Roll your own. Okay, close. So what is this? Saw Emacs blog. Okay, close that. Back here, open it. So you can see, by the way, there's some funny things. Okay, but let's talk about the URL first. Okay, so here is, so I wrote a blog complaining, a record of my complaint of why common this is just no good. Okay, first of all, the fields are kind of outdated. Okay, so that's one of the complaints. Then it's using a URL struct, a foreign structure, not from Emacs Lisp. That's my second complaint. You can use a record or a hash table to represent it in Emacs Lisp. That's built in. That's native data structure. You don't need. There's no reason that you need a common Lisp data structure to represent the result. Okay, so that's my criticism, my bitching, my complaint about this common Lisp fuck in Emacs Lisp. Okay, you will not hear anyone talking about this because they are all nice people. They are for building a better world. They are for protecting women and children and black people. That's typical. In this, nice people. That's why they have a lot of views. Okay, commonly. So I wrote my own. Okay, so I'm not the best coder. I'm doing fine, but I can write this function which works fine. Okay, so that let's show that function. Okay, close. Okay, lots of talk, and so where is it? Okay, parse URL. So yeah, so here I wrote the function, took about 2 hours. So describe function, HTML URL parse URL. So here's my function, and here is the keys. This is modern. This is based on the browser's JavaScript functions. So for example, so you can see the browser, there's get URL, there's parse URL. So you can see this is how you retrieve a URL, and you have methods that parse the URL. So, and you can do it this way. So so I model my function on this JavaScript thing. Okay, so it's part of the XAR HTML mod. So let's go to it. So here is the function. 100 lines, 50 lines, or 80 lines, something like that. Okay, so actually, this to write this function, actually it's not trivial. It's interesting. So let's go over it a little bit. Okay, so because it's interesting. Okay, let's go to XAR Emacs Lisp mod. Okay, let's talk about this for a while. So I already talked for 25 minutes. Okay, so is there a simple way to describe the difference between URI and URL? That's a good question. That confused me the fuck for over 10 years. Let me explain that one. Okay, that's a big hysteria among the tech geekers, among the hacker types, among the Emacs every day, Vim every day, Vim, VI, Emacs, Unix, Linux, blah 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 blah, kernel. This type of people I despise, and C coders. They are holier than thou. They are on Hacker News. They are on GitHub. Very popular. Typically, they tell you what to do. Python, especially among So back in, let's say, from year 2000, let's say 1999, so the whole year 2000, the decade, a lot of these types, for lack of better name, I call them hacker types, elite hacker types. Okay, they are superior type. They are the type they always talk about. Emacs, Vim, command line interface. They will make fun, that we will ridicule Microsoft Word and hatred, deep hatred of Microsoft every day. These fuckheads, okay, I despise them. These people, for over a decade, you'll see this question coming up often. When you mention URL, oh no, you are incorrect. It should be URI, okay, URI. So what's the technical difference between URL and URI? So I read that multiple times, but every time I don't remember the details. But basically, in general, URI is just the more generic term, more generic concept than URL. So URL stands for universal resource locator. Okay, so basically it's a standardized way, a syntax that specifies a location in cyberspace. Okay, basically just a web, it can be a web page, it can be a local file. For example, that's also a URL. But anyway, universal resource locator. Okay, you can look up Wikipedia. Okay, go do that. But URI is a universal resource. The I stand for universal resource. The I stand for I don't remember. But basically, it's kind of it's kind of like a more general idea. Okay. But okay, so my point is that throughout year 2000s, these hacker elite types will repeat that all the time. They will say, oh, URI, you shouldn't say URL. This is the URI is correct. Okay, so after a while, I follow them. I'm also a nerd. I'm a big one, so I look at I read it 1,000 times. So I think, okay, URI is better. In fact, you can see in my Emacs Lisp code. So you go back to XAR HTML mod, go to the bottom. So there's 5,000 lines of code. And now you list matching lines, URI. So you can see some of my functions, a few years ago, 10 years ago, it's using URI. But however, the thing about this elite hacker kind of jargon, their concern, their obsession is that it's periodical, it's a fad. Today, the millennial and Zoomer took over. with their JavaScript and Ruby and Rust. Rust. What do you think of Rust? Rust is the best language. The new generation, they don't know about this. They don't care. You don't see this URI mentioned anymore. It's just a fucking damn URL. Okay? It's like XML is dead. Who cares about XML? But back then, it's there XML every day. Same thing happens. Fat. What can you do? So anyway, my point here is that, the history, the W3C org, the shit, okay, the, RFC, for example, we read RFC before in that generic use, based on RFC 39 something, sounds grand. That's the hacker types. Today, that is forgotten. That's not, there's so many other standards, and HTML5 versus W3C, they fight, there's a big war, so, back then they will tell you, if you don't listen to standard, you are a fuckface. This elite hacker fucks, okay, Unix philosophy, fuckheads, they. Okay, so that's enough rant. Okay, so if you want to know what's the difference about URL, URI, just Wikipedia, URI. Okay, so identifier. That's right. Uniform. Oh no, it's not. No, they changed the name. It's not universal. It's uniform resource identifier. Okay. So let's look at history and blah blah blah, refinement and URI. And by the way, there's also URN. Fuck them. Okay. Fuck them. I used to be like the hackers and nerds. I also pay extreme attention. I read this 1,000 times. Before there's Wikipedia, then there was FAQ, then there's RFC. Incomprehensible fuck. But anyway, the point here is that it doesn't really matter. Okay, whatever you call them, it's just it's just a string. Okay. It doesn't really, it's not that important, okay? And remember, look at, the standard, this one, for example, this one, URL, generic parse URL. This, the parser follows RFC 3986, sounding so grand, they're fucking ass. There is nothing wrong with following standard. Of course, standard, that's the purpose of standard. So we don't get into a situation where you have your own, you do your own way, he does his own way, I do my own way. It's hell, okay? So standard. But what happens with these the elite hacker types? They think they know stuff. They Unix hackers, Linux this type, and Lisp and Vim, Emacs these types. They forgot they don't have a general purpose. They don't have a view of the whole humanity. Okay, they don't know how things work. Standards, standard. For example, this one now it looks, look at this. It just looks silly today. Then they'll argue, oh well, because standard changes. No, the standard are just human created. There's a lot of politics and war. So yeah, sure, follow standard, but you don't want to be like obsessed about it and telling every other people about So anyway, back then RFC is one of the Unix idiots, and C, these type of people, they are cited every day, okay, but not today, not it haven't been so for like 10 years, okay. So here is the RFC 3986, okay. So anyway, so that's so I thought so to me, I'm getting old. I thought URI is gonna take over, as far as terminology. We should use URI, but it's all back to URL. What the fuck is URI? Nobody cares anymore. Okay, so, so we got into lots of rant now. So what is the next thing we wanna do? Okay, so, yeah, so, okay, so now, XHTML parse URL. Now look at the naming. Now I'm back to sticking with the naming choice of URL, not URI. Okay, idiotic fuck these hackers. Java, for example, in browsers, the DOM stand for document object model. That's another very complex, incomprehensible fuck created by these industrial coders fucks with decades of war and commercialization. It's a huge mess. Okay, anyway, so you see here the DOM document object model, but this actually came from the BOM browser object model, because it's actually this object URL is not part of the document HTML, it's part of the browser. So their function name is URL, okay, not URI or URN, okay. So back to the Emacs Lisp code. Okay, so here's my code. Now this is interesting. I was going to explain some of the details of the code, but I guess I ran it for 45 minutes on much of the hackers and stuff. So today is not about Emacs Lisp technical details. But anyway, it's interesting because. So for example, let me show you these parts, because so you have a URL like that, you have the query string, and you have the fragmentation. It's very interesting because the API design is interesting. That's one part. The API design, I'll explain. Okay, so API design, there's no obvious universal way. That's interesting. Which way you want to go, okay? API design. The other part is the algorithm. Algorithm is also quite interesting because you might think that given a URL, let's open that. So given your URL, you might think the whole thing can be done with a regular expression. You can do that, but that you're gonna have a regular expression of 20 lines. It will be extremely complex. And then you might think, let's do incremental parsing. We just search for the different separators at each step. That doesn't really work as well, because for example, if you want to parse the port number and the domain name, you cannot search for the colon character, because port number sometimes is omitted, so you don't have the colon character, but you do always have the slash after port number. So if you want an incremental parsing, you search for the next slash, then what you get is the domain name and port number. Then as one thing, then your code needs to parse this string to see if there's a port number in it. So that's some of the interesting part on the algorithm. Okay. Then you have similar situation, about a query string which can be omitted, and you have the hash fragmentation which may also be omitted. Also the path, the resource path may also be omitted. So any of these can be omitted. So you have a combinatorial kind of situation. Okay, so that's why this is interesting from a algorithm point of view. What algorithm you're gonna use to do this? Okay. Then the design, the API design is also interesting. For example, let's say the last part, the hashtag fragment. Now, so you have a key, that represents the hashtag. Should the value include the hash character? Should it include it or not? If I were to design it, I would say no. But actually, according to how they do it, the JavaScript, they include it. Okay, so for example, you can see here is the actual example. Yeah, so here you can see this is the actual result. So the hash, you can see, let's magnify. You can see the hash includes the pound sign. And similarly, for the search query string, they include the question mark in front, okay? Things like that. But however, for port number, they do not include the colon. So you might say it's inconsistent in a sense. So that's some of the interesting things about API design. Okay, I don't think this is absolutely the best way. In my opinion, you should not include the hashtag in the hash value part, and you should not include the beginning question mark in the query string. And also, there's a naming of things issue. For example, they named the query string as search, but actually it should be named query string, because that's not always search. That's the proper name is query string. Okay, so and we look at the JavaScript browser URL object as a way to see how they designed it, but this is not the the model. This is not the best way. Not necessarily, and it is not for sure, I know, because the browser also is like hacking after 10 years, 20 years, basically they stuck. You cannot change it. That's just the way it is. Okay, so but if I were to rewrite this again, I don't think those, it will not be the same. And also look at the HTTP, look at the protocol part. HTTP, they include the colon at the end. In my opinion, a better design should not include the colon at the end, but they do. So that's some of the interesting part about the API design. Okay, so let's read the question, and maybe that's it. Okay, so I'm rambling. So today 50 minutes already. So we talked for 45 minutes already. So let's see what else I want to cover. So we covered some of the details, interesting things, and then I want to put my code, okay, so my code to my website so you guys can use it. Okay, now this is part of my XHTML. XHTML mod, by the way, you have to pay. Okay, pay me if you like my stuff. Pay me. I'll send it to you, and it's open source. You can edit it, of course. By open source, that also means you can sell it. Okay, I sell at $32. You can sell it $10. Rob me. That's the nature of open source. Nothing I can do. For 15 years, it's free, but I don't get a dime. I get some, but I'm dying of hunger. So today, so now you pay me to get it. Pretty sad situation. Okay, so anyway, so yeah, pay me if you like my stuff. Okay, so it's part of HTML mod, but so I can release this code. So I can just release this code and put on my website. So that's one thing to do. And next thing is actually I want to fix some other command that requires the parsing of HTML. Okay, let's do them both. Okay, I hope 10 more minutes. Okay, let's read the questions, comments. Dawang G. Gay Yash says, the RFC folks have long lost their jobs from Cisco's and other networking companies. Really, I haven't followed exactly the RFC organization community, but yeah, they changed after in the past 30 years or was it 40. Politics, lots of politics and commercialization. They essentially kind of control, like today's Google, Facebook. They control how the web tech, and Apple. They began the HTML5, which split from the standard W3C. Huge argument, and for like 7 years they don't agree. So you have two HTML standards. One is W3C, one is HTML5. mostly they agree, but in details they don't agree. Each one, says their standard is the standard. Okay. But about 3 years ago, then they merged. Okay. So that's a lot of politics. For example, recently I updated so you can search for Xali history of web tech. Okay, so you can see a lot history here. Death of HTML frame set, evolution of the script tag. Okay, there's lots of garbage, in the past 20 years, the JavaScript tag. Okay. Like back then, for example, I can talk endless about the history because I lived through. I wrote my first HTML in 1996, so I watched the birth of HTML and CSS. Beginning in HTML beginning in 1992 or around a bit before, but I came late. So I watched the birth of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and XML. XML, that's another big story. Okay, and this quote, the most hateful fuck that in this quote. Okay, let me talk about this quote. Be conservative in what you send. Be liberal in what you accept. This quote represents the fuckheads in the computing industry. Basically, all the elite, holier than thou programmers, the Python coders, they tell you what to do. They think they know better than you. This quote represents them. This quote did the damage in the web tech industry for 20 years. Back in 1990s and up to about 2007, this quote is ubiquitous everywhere. Every fucking hacker, they will sometimes put it in their signature, be conservative in what you send, be liberal in what you accept, for about 20 years. Then people realized, around year 2000, so that's a mistake. Because with that quote, every fucking Unix hacker, Unix philosophy, Linux fuckheads are citing this, and they realize there's a mistake. What is a mistake? What happens is that then you got every web HTML, they are invalid. They are just fucking syntax soup. Invalid, fuck up, missing tags, unmatched tags, everything garbage, You have that because of this quote, it says browsers, you should try your best to accept them. So they created the situation like for example, like the maybe PHP or so they create a situation where on all the web page created are invalid HTML, and all the commercialized HTML applications, for example, Dreamweaver or Microsoft Word or any application that generates HTML, for example, OGMod, they will create invalid HTML. And in fact, strictly speaking, to this fucking day. So anyway, this quote, okay, every fucking, these elite hackers, including many of you today, broadly speaking, you will see they're talking about JavaScript, Rust, how you should do this way or that way, fuckheads. Okay, so after 20 years, people realized this is incorrect. That's when XML, the vision, the utopia, the vision of XML began. Okay, that's another whole story for a decade. Then the HTML5 fuckheads, this icon represent everything that's wrong with the web. This is the Malin Gen new generation. They came up, HTML5 rocks. Fuck them. This is the Malin Gen and Zoomers. They began. This is when they overthrew the hacker types. Oh, validation is not important. You see this icon? W3HTML 4.0 checkmark. That's called web badge. That's ubiquitous headquarters on every one of these Emacs, Vim, Linux, Unix types philosophy fuckheads web page. Proudly, this page, this HTML4 valid. These fuckheads, because why am I angry? Because you look at them, the history of things. It's just idiotic, silly. They think they are doing so strict. They think they are. They creates misery. In the end, what you have is misery. Okay, with today's JavaScript so bad, situation. Okay, so I rambled a lot. So HTML history. So let me tell you about So the splinter, the schism of W3C and HTML5 began here. Okay, here. What the fuck group created by predominantly Apple and Google around 2006. Okay, what the fuck group versus W3C. Political war. They split. Because why? Apple, W3C is the standard these hacker types adore, obsess about, obsessed with, then around 2007, this what the fuck group came up. They created HTML5. Why? Who? Which fuckhead came up with that? Opera, Apple, then pretty soon joined by Google. Of course, then Microsoft, all the biggies. Okay, why are they creating? What do they want? Because they are unsatisfied with XML. This XML revolution. They unsatisfied. Why? Because they want money. Money is talking. Apple is creating iPhone. I'm going to create iPhone where you can play games. That's what people want. We don't want to stick with whatever XML, extensibility, whatever. We want to create our own tech. That's the origin. That's essentially the basis of HTML5. They don't want to follow your standard. That's the reason at heart. Apple and Google. Why is Google in it? Of course, Google is trying to overthrow Microsoft. Google is trying to remember this is like 2000s. Google is trying to make the web to be the thing, not operating systems. Not Microsoft Windows or Microsoft Word. Google wants the web to be their thing. Google Docs, Google, Maps, Google whatever, Google Web or everything. They want the browser to be the thing for everything, not operating system. Google sells them. Google ads. They want fancy JavaScript. That's when HTML5 grew up, begin. Okay, they split. They disagreed. Okay, so here's a history. Okay. Okay, So, and here you can read their FAQ on the issue. Why do you guys split? Which one is actually the standard HTML specification? They disagree. So the what the fuck group of the Apple, Google, and that's their name. What working group? Okay, they explain. Oh well, because why we split? Because our standard is still the standard. They basically then we believe in something. Okay, then the W3C group says, well, actually, those kids in town, they are doing no good. Because a standard should be formally, validated, stuff like that. Each one is actually just for money. Okay, money is talking. Money, lots of money is talking in the money and power struggle. Okay, But these fuckheads, those people who tell you about, this Unix, the C Unix, this Python, this popular help the world people, usually white boys, they pretty wealthy, comfortable living, well-to-do fuckheads. Okay, they are telling you what to do over the past 20, 30 years. Okay, so this talk show turned out into a web history rant. Okay, so be it. So now I want to let's quickly do create a page for it for the XAR HTML parse. Okay, so now it's workflow demonstration time. So you're gonna watch my workflow. Okay, so if you are interested in workflow, watch this. So right now I want to create a new page. Now the question is, which directory do you want to create it? So I want to create it. So go here, Emacs tutorial homepage, then go to XAR Emacs packages, XAR Emacs commands. Go there. Okay, so I want to create a page on the parsing URL function here. Okay, somewhere. So let's open this one. Okay, so copy that, go to Emacs blog, new section, paste it, link file, make a list. Okay, copy, paste. Okay, and go back to browser, copy that, go back to browser, yeah. So delete, so go open that page, then go to the top, so you can see the Emacs new empty buffer. Okay, open that, copy the file path, close. Okay, go here, paste it, linkify, make a list. Okay, now I want make a clone of this page. Okay, let's do it. So this is parse URL. Okay, that's the name of the new file I want. Parse. Okay, parse URL. Okay, rename. Okay, so now we want to say Emacs Lisp. Okay, and okay, that's a new title. Copy it. Now go back here, copy it, copy the content, close, open it, create new, paste, and call command to update the title. Do it, and go back here and delete the content here. Okay, and update the date. Okay, and show in browser, new empty page, fantastic. Okay, now close that. Now select, close. Now this is the power of XAR HTML mod. Okay, now let's describe function and XAR HTML parse. Enter. Okay, jump to the source code, copy the code. Okay, so I want to also copy the test. Okay, copy it, close. Okay, now open the file, make a new Emacs Lisp code block, paste it there, show in browser. There it is. That's the code. Now back to Emacs. Syntax color it, show in browser, fantastic. So now you can see, you can get this function, parse URL, in Emacs Lisp for your own use. Pay me. Okay, support, that's a thing. Okay, so now hello Vernon. So now we want to, so let's write some introduction. So usually that's important because this is part of this is an experience of writing a blog on the web. Technically speaking, this page is about a function to parse URL. So, and here's a code. That's all you need, technically speaking. But in practice, people usually want some kind of like introduction. why are you, why do you have this here? They want to know what it is, even though it's fully documented here, but you need some kind of introduction. So let's say here it is function that parses URL, okay? So that when people see that, it makes it kind of more comfortable from experience, okay? So there it is. So now you want to add this page a link to the Emacs command, okay? Do that. Let's do that. So copy the file path, close it, and open this one and show in browser. Now where do you want to add the link? Okay, and commands. This is like a Emacs Lisp utility, so let's add it at the bottom for now. Okay, transpose matrix. So paste it, linkify, and do it. Show in browser. Go down. There it is. Click. Fantastic. Okay, now close. Okay, wait, what did I just close? Yeah, okay, so close. Now this is my Emacs blog, so there's new entry. Okay, now you need to add it to RSS. Okay, so let's do that. So call a command. This command is atom new entry, so it adds entry in the RSS. Okay, so close it, show in browser. Then what I have to do is just go to the PowerShell and sync to my server. Not rsync. Okay, then it'll be there. Okay, I'm gonna do that later. Okay, so that's that. So what else? Close that, show in browser, talk show. Yeah, so there's one more thing. Okay, should I stop or should I continue? Let's continue. Let's make this complete. We set out to do. So one more thing here. So what is this thing? Let me show you. Okay, so what are we doing? So here, so for example, okay, okay, so wait, search. Okay, so let me show you. Okay, so you go to xrd.info and click on the search, so you can search. Let's say Emacs browser. Okay, so you can see there. Okay, now you copy the URL, copy it, and go back here and paste it. So you can see, it's got query string. So this is why we are writing the parse URL. Now we want to open, remember this is still local file. So that's why you see the file : // This is local file. So I want to open it. So I have a command that lets me open any file path. But I do it. It says file does not exist. Why? Because of the query string. So you see, so the function we just called is open file at cursor. Okay, so we need to modify. Let's see, copy open file at cursor. We need to modify this command so that when it opens a file path, it will, when it sees question mark, it will remove those part. Okay, so that's one command. There's another command. Okay, let me show you another command that I need to modify. So that command is, for example, if you go to this page, what is this? Emacs Lisp view URL in web browser. Yeah, okay. So what is this? Okay, so let's open this U page. Okay, so you copy the URL. You see, it's already copied. Okay, because I'm using this key. That basically, that's Control-L, Control-C. Okay, copy the URL. Now I want to open that file. by by what I just copied. So one way to do it is paste the file path, then call the command open file at cursor to open it. But that's too many steps. So I have another key, another command that simply just open whatever is on the clipboard. So that, if you watch the ping window, you'll see. I'm gonna call it now. So done. Okay. So you see, it's opened. And the command is xar open file from clipboard. So the clipboard contains the file path. You just open whatever there. You don't have to paste it first, then open it. Okay. So this command also needs to be updated because it will stuck if you have a query string. Okay, let's fix them. So let's just fix this one quickly. Okay, so let's describe function, view the source code, jump to it, open it. So this is part of xar flag keys. So here's a function, copy it, new buffer, paste it. So you can see it's 70 lines. And let's save it, xx, today's date, file name, the function name, .el. So let's save it as a temporary file. So there, okay. So now we just want to modify this to remove the query string. Okay, so what do we do? So I already have a function written for that. So let's go to describe key, bam. That's the key for activating xar HTML mod. Okay, open that, and now list matching lines. Type for query string, query, okay, query string. So you can see there is already a function, xar remove URL query string. Okay, so we already have the function, so we need to call that. Copy it, close. Okay, so we need to, so before we open it, we need to remove the, okay, so let's see where. So here's the input and input. So what? Am I doing good? How are you guys? So I guess nobody's watching. We are almost done. In 6 people. Not too bad. 8 people. Almost done. Comment and questions, and just say hi in the comments. Okay, love to see it. Don't forget to donate. Ching, ching. Okay, so we want to modify this. Okay, so modify the file path. So first of all, the function doesn't take anything. Then, there's no argument. Okay, so the argument all came from internally. So input. So if there's a region. Yeah, so if there's a region, grab the region. Otherwise, go to the space and grab the line, whatever. Okay, so now you have input 2. So input 2. Oh, it runs a hook. Complicated. So input 2. So the easiest actually is to do this. Okay, so the easiest is set input 2. We modify the input 2 by just doing that. Okay, so let's make it look better. So that's the easiest way. But I don't want to do that usually, because when you do this, that means you are mutating the variable. Okay, I am a functional programming advocate. I like functional programming. So I don't want to do this. But Emacs Lisp is not a complete pure functional programming language, and this way of mutating variable value is very common. Okay, so let's just let it be. Okay, so now evaluate the buffer. So now we go back to the link to the file. Let's try to open that. Okay. So so if you look at the pink window, so I press the key, bam, 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 it opens it. Okay, showing browser, it opens correctly. You see, the command I just called is start open file at cursor. Remember, it didn't work before. Close. It didn't work before because you got this question mark something query string. Now it works. Okay, try it again. So put the cursor on the path and press the key. It opens the file. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching Reopen. So that's it. JR, is there a good intro course game for better understanding regular expression? I came late to the stream. Could explain some of the code, please? Okay, that's it for today. So you have to watch the whole. Today is lots of rants. So that's it for today. So you are asking for a good tutorial on regular expression. Okay, so I explained this a few times. For example, let me explain that one. I have about 100 pages on regular expression in different languages. In JavaScript, in Wolfram language, okay, complete, actually in Wolfram, so I have tutorials on regular expression in Wolfram language, in Clojure, in Emacs Lisp, usually 10 pages for each language, usually. So Emacs Lisp regular expression, then you have Golang regular expression, you have JavaScript regular expression, lots of regular expression functions and flags and syntax. JavaScript, you have like 30 pages. Then you have Perl regular expression, you have Python, Python also 30 pages. Okay, so regular expression, ubiquitous. Regular expression is most useful. Why do you need so many documentation? Because for each language, you have regular expression functions. Okay, each programming language, they approach it differently. So in JavaScript, JavaScript is the most complex. You have regular expression objects, then you have methods, then you have string functions methods that also do regular expression, fairly complex. In Python, so anyway, the point is that for regular expression, you need a lot of tutorials because first of all, you have a bunch of functions that do regular expression. Some just return true or false, whether it matched or not. Some finds the first result. Okay, it doesn't change everything. It just finds it returns the index of the first occurrence. Okay. Now, some other function, you want to find all occurrences in a string. So it returns a list or a tuple or whatever. Okay, all occurrences. Now, another function, you want to return not occurrences, but the captured groups. Okay, so you might capture one part of the regular expression, capture the date, another part capture, a person's age, for example. So you want to capture the groups. So it returns a list of the groups that you capture. So the point here is that you have many different functions for the regular expression, okay, required for every language. And these functions, some of them are maybe methods, depending on the language, some of them are just part of the syntax of the language. For example, in Perl, you don't need to load a library. And often it's not a function. It's just the syntax. Okay, there's no function that do regular expression. It's just part of the syntax. Okay, so anyway, you have necessarily different type of functions on regular expression, and for each language, depending on language, some of them is all just functions, such as Wolfram language. Okay, some of them is like objects and methods, such as JavaScript. Some of them is just pure syntax of the language, Perl. Some of them, Python is again it's object. Okay, so that's regular expression functions and language details about those functions. Then you have regular expression syntax. Okay, regular expression syntax, which is one of the most complicated FAQ. Okay, regular expression syntax. Okay, so now you are looking at JavaScript. And by the way, they are not universally same. Okay, each language they differ slightly different. Okay, in particular, Emacs Lisp regular expression. Emacs Lisp, for example, I have 10 pages about regular expression. Okay, and also in Emacs, the regular expression is very different from the others. Also, the way it works is also very different because in most other languages, in all other languages, Python, Ruby, JavaScript, Wolfram language, when you do regular expression, you are searching or matching a string. Okay, the string may be a long string in all these languages, but in Emacs, that's not the case. When you are doing regular expression, you are actually searching the buffer. Buffer is not a string. Okay, buffer is actually it's a different data type, data structure. It's kind of like a glorified string, but it's not a string. String is a different thing in Emacs Lisp. Okay, string are typically smaller, but the buffer can be 1,000 megabytes. So in Emacs, you when you call a regular expression function, for example, here is the Emacs Lisp on regular expression functions. You have so here Emacs Lisp. Okay, so you have research forward, then you have research backward. This is strange because in all other languages you don't have the backward thing. Only in Emacs you have regular expression search backward. So that why? Because you are dealing with a buffer, so you have much more flexibility. Okay, then you also have kind of skip char forward. Then you have a version for regular expression matching a string. Okay, so then in Emacs, here's how you deal with captured groups or occurrences. So anyway, so back to regular expression. So regular expression, so we kind of covered why is it complex. Okay, it's not trivial. When I started to learn it in about 1997, okay, 1997, about 20 years ago, that's my first, I started to learn. Fairly complex. I would say it took me more than 5 years to eventually get and lots of esoteric details. For example, backtracking and also the history of regular expression. That's another story. History of regular expression, because originally they came from the study of automata. They came from trying to find the answer to the question of what things are computable, what things are not computable. I mean, is it possible something that can never be computed? Okay, that's theoretical computer science. That's where regular expression came from. Regular, in fact, it's not regular. It's regular in the sense of certain, parsing grammar. Okay, that's origin. That's a historical origin of regular expression, which came from parsing a particular type of programming language, and the context is basically about logic. It's about when something can be answered, by computation. Okay, so that's that's the historical context of regular expression, but that's not we know it for. Vast, every programmer, when they think of regular expression, it began in Unix, okay, in 1980s. When they think of regular expression, it's just a tool. It's a tool to match text, to find emails or dates, to extract things from string. Okay, that is the practical side of regular expression. That's what we know it for. That's what we use it for. It's not about formal languages, automata, about regular grammar. It's not about what is possible to compute. That's the historical background of regular expression. Okay, so in summary, what I'm trying to say is that regular expression is fairly complex in many aspects. That's why, so it's not easy to learn. So it's normal if you feel that, oh my God, regular expression, why is this complex? It's natural. Okay, that's just how things are. Okay, that's it. I talked for so long. So bye, guys. yeah, we finished, or we completed what we want to do today. So today is full rant on history of, web dev, lots of history, and mainly about parsing URL and related things and context. And lastly, some talk about regular expression. Okay, bye guys.